Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Midnight Therapy. I'm your host, Kat Matthews. This is a very, very important episode. We're going to get right to it. I know a lot of podcasts that do way better than mine. They stick to a very contemporary current events recap. They share their opinions, blah, blah, blah. There's 5 million videos with the same title. They cover the same stuff. Same content told in a little bit different way. The delivery may be different. I get it. I'm not going to do that today. There are stories that went on. You've heard about them probably. If you're a fan of the show, if you are the 35 loyal listeners, you know about the Signal group chat that got leaked. That was probably a psyop. You know, that was probably to get the journalist to spread the fake information. You know what I'm saying? That's a non-story. That's a distractor. That's something they talk about on The View and at nail salons and at hairdresser appointments and at the community library, maybe at a local bar. Not a real story. We're going to talk about what's really going on. And I don't think a lot of people are ready for this because this episode is very much in the world of conspiracy theories. That term scares a lot of you. That term carries a negative weight to it. It's a way to instantly discredit anyone. You call them a conspiracy theorist, automatically discredited. They're nuts. They're insane. They're crazy. They watch too much YouTube, watch too much TV, blah, blah, blah. We get it. But for the sake of this episode, I encourage you to just keep an open mind and at least look into these things I'm about to talk about. Dip a toe in. I'm going to dip the toe in for you. You can choose to go deeper. Now, thankfully, I was able to speak with the one and only Mike the Barber quite a bit about some of these topics. And I feel pretty good about mentioning them, mostly because the show only has 35 viewers. And I am a crazy cowboy in the basement, not a journalist or a therapist or a highly influential figure yet. So they don't, or they, whoever they is, you could determine who they is. But they don't care about me because I don't have that much influence, you know? They could write me off as a lunatic and it's fine. But maybe one day, someone will look back at this video, or maybe right now, in another dimension, or even this dimension, from afar, they're watching, saying, wow, he's close. He's close to he knows what's going on. Maybe not. All I'm saying is I encourage you to be optimistic, go into this open, and listen and look up, and you be the judge of what you think. You decide. Choose your own adventure. What we're going to be talking about today. We mentioned the pyramids last week and how the radar, the LiDAR, or whatever you call it, discovered this ginormous shaft system, no pun intended, underneath the pyramids, leading into these giant geometric square chambers, 1,400 feet underground or more. They're coiled. There's clearly some advanced architecture going on. Who knows? It doesn't appear to be a tomb anymore, though. We've known for a long time that they most likely weren't tombs, but rather repurposed as tombs. You heard this last week's episode. If you want to look into that more, you could. It's all over social media, all over the internet. Every single person is talking about this pyramid discovery. Okay, so think about that. Why? There's always a reason why people, especially people in power, talk about things or distribute certain stories at the time they do. There's always a reason. Keep that in mind. It didn't just pop up, this story. There's a reason it's popping up. The people peddling the story might not know the reason, but the people in charge at the very top of the pyramid, wink, know why stories get out and why other stories don't. Who knows what's going on with these pyramids? Maybe it was a pre-human society that built them. You know, maybe it was pre-flood, a pre-flood society. We know the water erosion on the Sphinx could make it up to 30,000 years old. Some say 12,000, some say 30, but probably when Egypt was a rainforest, especially Giza, the Giza area being a rainforest with lots of rainfall. We attribute it to the Egyptians because of the Egyptian head, but it clearly looks like that is a lion's body. Now, don't quote me on this, but there's something with the North Star passing through the constellation of, I believe, Leo during that time frame. Some people speculate, like Graham Hancock, that's when the Sphinx was originally built with a lion head. And now, because of they call it the precession of the equinoxes and a slight tilt of the Earth's axis, that changes in the North Star. Some star enters a different constellation, and then you're in the time of that constellation. This is stuff modern man can't even fathom. But maybe that's what they were thinking back then. And it does appear that Egyptian head on the Sphinx is much smaller and out of proportion to the giant lion body. With that being said, we can go down all these crazy theories. Conspiracy social media is wild. When you see these articles of the pyramids that just came out with the chambers underneath, you're seeing stuff like the Grand Canyon leading to the original Egypt, and that was together during Pangea, and the Anunnaki, and the Middle Earth, and the Admiral Byrd, and the Tartaria, and the ancient aliens. And you could go down a rabbit hole really quick, and it's kind of crazy. And some people are very confident they believe that's true. All that everything is a lie, that everything we've been taught is a lie, and that the Grand Canyon is Egypt. I'm not saying to go that far. But if some of you are getting a little curious and clicking on these articles on Facebook and reading the comments and going, what? Let me enlighten you on some maybe credible parts of these conspiracy theories that are at the very least, interesting. So interesting that you may want to take a closer look. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Now, buckle up. Hang on, because we're about to do a lot of odd things here. And again, because this is a low viewership show, I don't think anything will happen to me. Let's hope. But if it does, you heard it here first. The news story going around, which, like I said, nothing happens on accident, is about the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is the box that holds the 10 Commandments from the Bible. So we think. Just as I and many others believe the Egyptian pyramids were repurposed as tombs but had a different purpose initially, I believe the same with the Ark of the Covenant. Now, there's been all these movies, Indiana Jones, blah, 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 all this lore built up about the Ark of the Covenant, but let's be honest, it was real. The last time it's been seen, 560 BC. Again, gold box with sticks, can't be touched, held the stone tablets, the 10 Commandments from the Bible. That's what we know. But what we also know now is that in the 1980s, the United States CIA was using, let's say, unconventional intelligent methods for a myriad of reasons. And one of them was to locate the Ark of the Covenant. And these unconventional intelligence methods were not limited, but included remote viewing. Again, remote viewing. Now, I don't know if you know what that is, but that's when someone with maybe mystical powers or ESP or something going on, they're like a medium, they're like a fortune teller, blah, blah, blah. They could see things far away by concentrating on them, maybe being on psychoactive drugs, maybe listening to certain frequencies, meditating, who knows. But they had this one remote viewer in their test group that saw the Ark of the Covenant. They were said to have seen it in a mosque-like building with domes. These men were speaking Arabic, in white robes, and that information was documented by our CIA. Now, that article is just really coming out now. These leaked files, once classified files, are now coming out. Now, why? Why is that? The US has been looking for this since the Cold War. Now, let's say right after World War II, to be more accurate. Why is that? Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. But before I do, we need to go back a little. The United States of America took a lot of pages out of the book of Hitler once we won World War II. Now, Germany lost and Hitler lost, but his ideas kind of carried on. Now, this is controversial, but the United States borrowed a lot of the propaganda that the Nazis were using, and they used it. A lot of other things. We borrowed a lot of those scientists to get to the moon, quote unquote. Maybe, but they definitely helped us with our plane technology, definitely helped us with our rocket technology. Whether you like it or not, these are the facts. Like I said, I'm dipping a toe. If you want to look into it more, you could. I only have so much time on this pod. And this would take 5 years and a dissertation or two. And they'd probably try to come get me. But anyways, just a cowboy in the basement here. Not to mention medical advancements that the Nazis figured out in very unethical ways of trial and error. That information totally was taken over by the winners of World War II. And I would like to believe that some other things were borrowed by the next great empire, which is the United States. We are now in charge, or China, maybe both, but let's focus on us, the United States of America. We borrowed a little bit of Hitler's fascination with the occult. The first guy really looking for these artifacts like the Ark of the Covenant was Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Now, the movie Indiana Jones keeps coming up. This is on purpose. Just like Contagion was a movie prepping us for COVID. It was literally exactly COVID. It came out in like 2015. Look it up. A bat gave everybody this terrible virus, and there was people frozen trucks, the dead bodies in the trucks. That was going on. People were wearing masks, getting a vaccine. It was chaos. And it all came from a bat in China. These movies get you ready. They take the edge off so that when things start happening that are reminiscent of what you saw in the movie and you talk about it, people could go, you're watching too many movies, man. What are you, a conspiracy theorist? Like RoboCop, Terminator, all this stuff. That's two days away. I don't know. Ex Machina, all these movies. You're watching too much sci-fi, man. That's on purpose. Our intelligence, our CIA directly speaks with Hollywood, and they have an influence department. Look that up. And this is all done intentionally to desensitize you of the danger and to brush it off as fiction. Anywho, Indiana Jones kind of did that. That movie didn't come out of nowhere. People didn't just make that up, that the Germans were looking for the Ark of the Covenant in the desert and found it, and they wanted it for a reason. That's not fully made up. The characters like Indiana Jones and his whip and the drama and the action, that's made up. But the premise is not totally made up, whether you like it or not. So Hitler was really obsessed with the occult towards the end, in the middle of the war, for sure. He was looking for, look this up if you want, the Holy Grail, the Spear of Destiny. The Holy Grail is the cup that Christ drank out of at the Last Supper. The Spear of Destiny is the spear that the Roman used to stab Jesus' side on the cross to prove he was really dead. And of course, he was looking for the Ark of the Covenant, which we already explained. Now, this is where things get odd. That this paper is coming out now. These papers, the CIA documents, classified documents, coming out about the Ark of the Covenant. And this other story is breaking that apparently there's an Ethiopian church. It's called the Our Lady of Zion Church. They claim to have the Ark. Now, look this up. Like I said, I'm dipping a toe. There are guardian monks of this church, one that guards the ark 24/7 inside the church in a secret location. Outside the church is extremely high military presence. No one's allowed to see the ark. No one has, unless you're the guardian monk. And the fun part about that is they do that job till they die. They do that job. They guard the ark till they die, and they die very quick. Quick turnover rate in that job. Look this up. And they all die in a very odd way, these monks. They die suddenly, they die mysteriously, and usually all of them die blind. Some of them die of what appears to be radiation poisoning, and the one that died blind on his deathbed said that he has seen the divine power of the ark. Okay. Now, even the Bible says that the ark had supernatural powers. Now, you can, if you're a Bible scholar, you could find it. It electrocuted someone, it killed them. You know this. They can't touch it. That's why they have the sticks to carry it. They believe it helped them in war. Anybody who has the ark helps them in war. I don't think that the 10 Commandments being put in a box made it magical or supernatural. I think the box itself was already supernatural, or what the people at that time considered to be supernatural, and that important relic was worthy of holding another sacred relic, which was the 10 Commandments. I think it was repurposed as the box to hold the 10 Commandments, but I think originally it was something else that people didn't understand, or maybe some people didn't understand, and they called it magic or supernatural. It's kind of ironic it's called an ark, because some would think or propose the idea that the ark was actually an arc reactor of some sort with metal conductivity, maybe having to do with the pyramids, especially the Grand Pyramid in the King's Chamber with the granite sarcophagus with quartz in it that would fit the ark pretty perfectly. If you go by the dimensions of the ark. And it's this, again, winged gold box with these winged figures on the top and supposedly conducts electricity. I don't know. It's electrifying people. You see what I'm saying here? It's a little odd. It's a little odd. Now, this is the rabbit hole. Like I said, I'm not saying I believe in any of this. I'm just giving you the perspective and you can decide. But isn't it fun? So let's go further. Hitler wanted that ark. We wanted that ark. Seems like everybody wants that ark. Wonder why. We're going to get into somebody else that wants that ark in a minute. And maybe that's why we're hearing about it. Hitler, back to Hitler, he had this SS occult center. Now, don't quote me. I'm pulling out all this weird stuff here. But this SS occult center was a castle. I believe it was called the Wewelsburg. I hope I said that right. I'm not fluent in German. The Wewelsburg Castle. Look it up. And this castle was where these high members of the SS met and did these odd occult rituals. Please look this up. If you think I'm making this up, I'm not. And the weird part about it is the North Tower of that castle had a giant symbol on it, and it was the symbol of the black hole sun. Now, some of you probably just know that as a Soundgarden song. But the black hole sun is an odd thing. I'm going to tell you why it's odd. Hitler also had a little bit of territory conquered in Antarctica. Did anyone know that? Did they teach you that in public school? They didn't. But he called it New Swabia, I believe. There's a German name for it, but I'm going to call it New Swabia. And some believe and speculate that they were doing some sort of testing down there, whether it be laboratory testing, military testing, vehicle testing, technology testing, because it was a very sterile environment, very cold, no bugs, nothing to worry about, just a very cold, sterile environment, no disease. Everything would die in the cold, apparently. This is all speculative. But they believe, and I say they again, meaning some believe, that's where the whole UFO thing comes from with Hitler. Apparently he was working on these anti-gravity devices back in the day, and that was where they were being tested. Why Antarctica? Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. We copy Hitler again. The United States copies Hitler again. Maybe they got all the information that Hitler had, the Nazis had, and as a part of the victory of war, the spoils of war, wasn't just, oh, we won the war, we saved the world. No, it was we get everything they did. We get their rocket technology, we get their anti-gravity technology, and we get what they were doing in Antarctica. And with that knowledge, we send a very qualified veteran, Admiral Byrd, look this up, on a journey expedition of some sort to Antarctica. And this is where things get odd. This guy is a very credible man. He has a giant career list of achievements. But in his private journal, he wrote about this journey to Antarctica, and he explained how he flew his plane into a void in which he called the Hollow Earth, into the Middle Earth, which opened into a giant new realm in which he saw a black hole sun. I wish I was making this up, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I was making it up. It's up to you to decide. Did Hitler know about this secret place in Antarctica that had a black hole sun? Did he know about witchcraft and the occult? Did he know about remote viewing? Did he know about the Ark of the Covenant? Did he know about the pyramids? I don't know. It seems like he might have. And it seems like we got all that information that he was gathering by force, unjustly and unethically, on his reign of terror. And then we didn't just throw it out. We said, oh, let's continue. And the important people of America have been continuing this ever since. And secret societies have been honoring this ever since, in my opinion. Now, we can really go down the rabbit hole if you want. I'm going to briefly give you some stuff to talk about, or think about, rather. Now, I'm going to briefly give you some things to look up on your own time. This is a side note. Look up Chris Cornell and Soundgarden, and also Chester Bennington and their connection and how they died and what they were trying to expose. And, I don't know, re-listen to Black Hole Sun. Just see if anything's weird there. Maybe the Clintons were involved. I don't know. I didn't say that. Whoops. But the U.S. has done a lot of very odd things, and I don't want you to be jaded by the red, white, and blue and freedom and the fireworks and the country music and the hot dogs. We were just sort of the continuation, in a way, of the Nazis' goals. We didn't do everything they did, obviously. We didn't do the horrible atrocities in the chambers and the camps, but we kept the propaganda going. We kept the technology going, and we kept the imperialism going and the colonialism going, and we spread our empire all over the world. We just didn't do it by force. We did it very secretly and under the guise of freedom. Very interesting. But just to name a few, if you want to look any further, MK Ultra, we talk about a lot. Project Bluebeam, we talk about a lot. Aleister Crowley, look him up. Most Wicked Man, if you like the occult. Skull and Bones, look it up, you'll know. Maria Abramovich, Spirit Cooking, Lady Gaga, John Podesta. The list goes on of weird conspiracy theories that go on in our country, even to the modern times of now. So don't put it, we're not above that. The United States is not above doing this stuff. But let's not forget, this country is founded by, Freemasons. Now, we could go down that rabbit hole another day, but you know what's going on with the Freemasons probably. If you don't, look it up. But they were obsessed with Egypt. If you want any evidence of this, pull out $1 if you still have cash. George Washington, he's one of the most influential Freemasons we've ever had. He's also the first president of the United States that laid a lot of the groundwork and precedents for this country. Washington, D.C., named after him, District of Columbia. He is honored with the Washington Monument, which is a giant obelisk, which is Egyptian. Some speculate obelisks are the, power antennas, electrical satellites, pyramids. Look it up. Anyways, the weird part is there's also a pyramid on the back of the dollar bill with the all-seeing eye, with a saying that says something along the lines of, he favors our endeavors, he favors what we're doing here, meaning the great architect favors, and New World Order. On a pyramid with an all-seeing eye at the top. His monument is an obelisk. And there are 3 major obelisks in the world, sort of forming a triangle. And they're located in places that are quite odd. meaning there's some significance to where these obelisks are. You have one in London or the UK, and that sort of symbolizes finance, the finance power of the world, financial power of the world. Then you have the Vatican, which is the spiritual capital of the world, or represents the spiritual power of the world. And then you have one in Washington, D.C., which is the military or the war power of the world. And all those places are their own countries within other countries. Did you ever notice that? Like DC, if you're from America, that's like its own country. It's not in Maryland. It's not in Virginia. It's DC. Same with the Vatican. The Vatican's its own country. You enter another country. You're not in Rome anymore. You're in the Vatican, you know? And the same with London. That's a little odd. Do you think that's a little odd? Perhaps. Anyways, back to where we started. This CIA remote viewer, the Ark, this story coming out, the pyramid structures underneath story coming out, everybody talking about it out of nowhere. Only ancient alien freaks, the people like me that wake up in the middle of the night, History Channel's on, you're watching Ancient Aliens, knew any of this stuff. And now everyone's kind of talking about it. So hopefully I'm, bridging the gaps for you and giving you somewhere to start in your research, on Reddit. Go on AI, go on ChatGPT and ask these questions. It'll answer them for you. You go down a rabbit hole and a half tonight. Get a case of beer. I don't know. Do whatever you want. And whatever tickles your fancy, just go down the rabbit hole. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. And if you like it, give the channel a little subscribe, a little like, a little comment, maybe a fruit basket. But why are these stories coming out now, of all times? I'm going to tell you why. There are certain ideologies that want to promote certain things. And for a while, we had sort of this other ideology that was trying to, I believe, docile down the American people with the goodies and the social programs and the freebies and do whatever you want and no logic and no reason and don't worry about it. You'll own nothing and be happy. And that was sort of like a leftist, radical left ideology of poisoning the logic and the reason and the critical thinking and keeping everybody distracted with nonsense. That was sort of one thing. But now you're back to like this old power, which is Trump and his lineage, which is very fascinating. I think a lot of people think of this guy as the meanie, the racist, the goofing around guy. He's always getting a bad rap on the media. Like people think of him like that. And then some people remember him when he was loved by everyone in the entertainment industry on The Apprentice. Some people think, oh, he was just a reality show host. And then some people remember him as a real estate developer and he had casinos and Trump Tower and all that shit. And people have different perspectives of Trump, but mine is very different. I'm going to tell you why. This all relates. Hitler being obsessed with the occult and being obsessed with mystics, and then us being obsessed with that stuff too, and taking stuff from the Nazis like their rocket plans and their medical advancements and all this stuff and becoming the new major empire of the world, all this stuff. Chris Cornell, the Black Hole Sun, all this stuff. Antarctica, Robert Byrd, the pyramids, the Freemasons, all this, would you believe, is connected to Donald Trump. We touched on this a little before, but we're going to touch on it again because it's all full circle, baby. Now, they're going to say one day, he was mad. Cat Matthews was mad. The madness. Genius and madness are this close. Remember that. They're that close. Sometimes I teeter, I feel. Little mad, little genius, maybe both. But remember, no one cares because nobody hears it. The minute people start hearing it, then it's a problem. Then you got to get burnt at the stake. Anyways, not saying I'm a martyr here. I just want you to look some stuff up and tell me what you think and maybe unlock a part of your brain that went docile because of TikTok. Donald Trump is connected to all this in a very odd way. And I want you to know. Look up Nikola Tesla. If you don't know Nikola Tesla, there's a problem. Elon Musk, most powerful man in the world, arguably richest man in the world for sure, and now aligned with the actual leader of the free world, Donald Trump, secondhand man. I would say that constitutes being called the most powerful man in the world. He's the richest. He's almost a trillionaire. He owns social media. He owns the rocket companies, blah, blah, blah. You know. He named his car company Tesla for a reason, to honor Nikola Tesla. He was a very, very, very interesting man. Eccentric and obscure. Maybe a little OCD. Maybe a little crazy. Maybe a little mad. Maybe a little genius. Anyways, his life is tragic. Look it up. But he was one of the best minds, if not the best mind of our entire human civilization. This guy invented modern technology. He had wireless electricity. He had to compete with Edison, and Edison won because Edison's models made more money. But Tesla was the genius. Tesla had controversial ideas. They called him the mad scientist. He had death rays, and he had these. He was touching lightning and things like that. He was a very odd guy. Look him up. Anyways, at the end of his life, he died penniless, pretty much. He was living in a hotel room. But before he reached his demise and ended up in a hotel room, he was funded by some big donors back in the day. He had like sponsorships, if you will. One of them was J.P. Morgan. Not very well-liked figure by today's standards, but back then he was very rich and he funded a lot of things, including Nikola Tesla and some of his inventions in the Wardenclyffe Tower and other things. Now, Tesla wrote extensively about the pyramids and said that they control the power of the universe, and that 369, if you could figure out 369, you figure everything out. He went a little mad in his old age. He would walk around a building 3 times. He would only stay on a floor of a hotel room that was an increment of 3. Got a little obsessed. But either way, pyramids were very telling for Tesla. You know, he obviously saw something in them that we may not have. Maybe it influenced his inventions. Who knows? Here's where it gets odd. As Tesla ultimately dies, living penniless in a hotel room in New York, our country decides to, assign a task force of people, of qualified people, to look through the contents of Tesla's hotel room. We may have talked about this before, but you're going to get it again here. And the head of that task force that was assigned to look through, separate, classify, organize all of Tesla's documents and inventions and everything he had, his personal diaries, the head of that was John G. Trump, none other than Donald Trump's uncle. This guy was insanely qualified, a genius. He had something to do with X-rays. This guy was a very smart engineer, as far as I'm concerned. He was head of this task force to look through Tesla's stuff. And what he said after looking through it for God knows how long, that there was nothing found that was useful or of substance. Not one thing. Now, do you think that's true? Do you think that's plausible? Or is it more plausible or likely to assume that John walked out with some important stuff and didn't tell anyone, and maybe used it to advance his family's success and wealth and lineage? You tell me. If you were in that situation and you saw the blueprints for a time machine or infinite energy or the death ray, would you just hand that over to the government and say, pleasure serving you, thanks for the opportunity? No, you would take it and run. You would take it and run for the hills. You know it. And you know Trumps would do that too. Trumps aren't dumb people, no matter what they tell you. And I think there's a reason this guy, Donald Trump, is still around and still kicking and still powerful and had the perfect blueprint of a life. The guy literally went from businessman, real estate mogul, to president, then not president, then back to president again. I don't know. Sounds like a great Rocky comeback story, but maybe there's something else to it. Now, here's why there might be something else to it. Do you know what Donald Trump has in Mar-a-Lago as his personal decoration? Like, this got leaked. Someone had a photo of it, and anybody who's been there can attest he has this. And no one really knows why he has this, but he has an exact replica. So they say replica of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, why on earth would Trump have an Ark of the Covenant in his office at Mar-a-Lago. I don't think he's that big of an Indiana Jones fan. I really don't think so. He doesn't strike me as a Spielberg guy. But he has this, in his personal office at Mar-a-Lago. He made comments before. He knows a lot about nuclear reactors. It's like, well, what do you know about that? I don't know. Why would a real estate guy and a reality show host know a lot about nuclear engineering? I don't know. Anyways, I gave you all the pieces. You could put the puzzle together now, but there's something up. The pyramid story, the Ark of the Covenant story, all coming out as Trump is president, and everything I just told you. What's going on? What does Trump know? And I'm going to tell you, he definitely knows something. And here's the final conspiracy theory of the day. Why do you think Elon Musk, out of nowhere, that guy who's like a robot, we know he has autism, some form of autism, and he doesn't really think like most of us. The guy's thinking about 5 million things that most of us can't even fathom. Rockets, weird structures, next business plan, how many kids he's going to have with who, repopulation, cutting Doge, who knows? What made that guy want to drop everything and join Trump and help Trump win at any cost? Was it that important? Do you think Trump was that important to Elon Musk, that preserving the American dream and all the other stuff Trump ran on was that important to Elon Musk? Lowering the price of eggs and I don't know, renewing the American dream, reviving the American dream, the little pink house and the car and the dog and the kids. You think that was that important to Elon Musk? Or do you think Elon Musk, being in this big circles of power, got told by someone else, by somebody else, by a friend, by somebody else, and this got mentioned, and then he finally meets Donald Trump, and Donald Trump goes, hey, you like electricity and rockets, don't you? Yeah. You like inventions? Yeah. Want to see 1/5 of what I have in my possession? And Trump shows him just one little paper, a little schematic of a death ray from Tesla himself. And he goes, I got a whole vault of this shit. And my uncle was John G. Trump. You know, Elon Musk knew who Trump's uncle was already. But I bet you Trump showed him a little bit of that. And Elon goes, I will do anything to have a part of that. And Trump goes, all right, well then help me get elected and we'll talk. Help me preserve my legacy and then maybe we'll talk. Trump goes, I have no use for this stuff, but I have all this paperwork I don't know what to do with. And maybe you might be interested in seeing it, considering you're a big Tesla fan, aren't you? Elon was probably drooling at the mouth. Oh, he couldn't even imagine what Trump has in the vault. He was spending so much time in Mar-a-Lago, Trump probably gave him the whole tour. He goes, here's the Ark of the Covenant. What do you think the Ark of the Covenant is? Elon probably laughed a little and he goes, let me tell you what it really is. You help me get elected and we will start reviving our search and getting those power plants in Egypt running again. Who knows? But I'm telling you, there's no way Elon Musk just randomly was drawn to Trump and wanted to invest all these billions of dollars into his campaign to see him elected for the betterment of the American people. Nope. There has to be something in it for him. There has to be something in it for him. And what gets that guy excited? Nothing. He has everything. But what he doesn't have is the secrets of Nikola Tesla. And Trump does have that. Trump has some stuff. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nobody gets shot in the head and then instantly stands up and says, fight, fight, fight. Unless you, I don't know, maybe have some type of assurance that you weren't dying that day. I don't know. It seems a little weird. You know what I'm saying? Everything seemed to work out just right. That close. And all of big tech is following now. And they think because Elon's a smart, savvy businessman. No. Elon Musk doesn't care about anyone. Elon Musk cares about what Trump cares about, legacy and expanding and living on forever, like the Achilles problem. Like, I want to be remembered forever. Musk lives, sleeps, shits, and dies for inventions. That's all he cares about. And he thinks he's the smartest guy in the world. Trump goes, you're actually not. Check this out. And Musk goes, what the hell? Where did you get that? And Trump goes, wouldn't you like to know? Sit down. Are you going to get me elected or what? That's kind of what's going on now. So why they distract you with these stories about the Signal group chat and J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard texting about the Houthis, don't get your panties in a bunch, everyone. That's nothing. That's to distract you. What's really going on is this and everything I said. And even if I'm 1% right about what I just said, it's still insane. It's still insane. So you have your homework. You could look up all the points I brought up. You could look it up. I took you from the erection of the Egyptian pyramids all the way to Elon Musk in 2025. And it's somehow all connected. All that history, maybe it's 30,000 years old, 30,000 years of history I just gave you. And somehow it's still all connected. You be the judge if I'm right or not. If I'm not, please comment. It is a free country. It is a free country. Thank you, Mike the Barber, for hashing this out with me. As always, this show is sponsored by Three Saints Barbershop and Jack's Pub and Eatery, located in downtown Jessup, Pennsylvania. Thank you to my beautiful fiance, Christy. She had to listen to me work all this out and have all the aha epiphany moments on walks with the dogs, dinner, 3 a.m. when I wake up to pee. I go, you don't get it. Elon Musk, it's connected to the pyramid of Khafre. She's like, what? So thank you to her for bearing with me. And thank you to everyone else listening to this show. And thank you to the feds that have the house bugged for not stopping the show just yet. When it hits 42 subscribers, I think that's too much. Again, we're trying to get 50 for 50, so help me out. But no, please, if you have any thoughts on this crazy stuff I just mentioned, fully down the rabbit hole, even though I went that far, it's still just dipping a toe to what's really out there. Sleep on that. Sleep well. Remember, we know nothing here. Anything you've been told could very well be a lie, and always have an open mind. Conspiracy theorist is a term they use to disparage you. I would say, let me correct you and say you mean inquisitive, critical thinker with the optimism and curiosity of a child. Say that. And they'll go, I never thought of it that way. And then they'll go home and not think about it ever again, and they'll put on Summer House. Before I leave, I have a comedy show coming up at Hotel Anthracite in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. Big show. It is this Saturday coming up, April 5th. It's going to be a good time. I have a really funny set. I'm working on it. It's all real, which makes it funnier. Very contemporary, very new, a lot of new jokes in there. If you are from the area, please attend. If you're not, fly in. It's a hotel. You can always stay after. Just wanted to plug that quick with Chef Kawasaki, my temporary business partner. What a good guy. He also works at Kabuki. It's a hibachi restaurant in Peckville, Pennsylvania. Very good food. You got to try the scallop and chicken hibachi lunch special. Very good. The yum yum sauce is very good. With that being said, stay curious, my friends. Good night.